You click a button, and a few days later, a package from halfway across the planet arrives at your door. We take it for granted that a vacuum cleaner manufactured in Mexico or shoes stitched in Vietnam can be shipped thousands of miles for practically pennies. But before 1956, moving goods across an ocean was slow and chaotic. Cargo was shipped using a method called break bulk, where every single item, whether it was a wooden crate of machinery, a sack of coffee, or a barrel of oil, had to be handled individually. Look at the old New York harbor. Thousands of longshoremen spent days manually hauling heavy cargo on and off ships, using pulleys and their own backs. Harbors were massive bottlenecks of physical labor and constant delays. Paying armies of men to slowly move individual items was wildly expensive. In 1956, loading a medium-sized ship the conventional way cost roughly $5.83 per ton. Because loading the ships cost so much money and took so much time, shipping a product overseas often doubled its retail price. Businesses were mathematically forced to manufacture and sell their goods locally. Malcolm McLean was a trucking entrepreneur from North Carolina. After driving cargo to the docks, he would sit in his cab for days, watching longshoremen slowly unpack his trucks and load the items piece by piece onto ships. McLean's insight was to bypass the break bulk process entirely. He wanted to lift the entire truck trailer, the metal box containing the cargo, straight onto the deck of the ship, moving the goods from producer to consumer without ever being unpacked. On April 26, 1956, a converted World War II tanker named the Ideal X left New Jersey for Houston, carrying 58 of these metal boxes. It was a massive success, despite fierce opposition from dock workers, who realized their manual labor was about to become obsolete. This chart shows the immediate impact of McLean's maiden voyage. The cost to load cargo plummeted from $5.83 per ton down to just 16 cents. Shipping companies began replacing thousands of workers with high-speed mechanical cranes. The financial barrier to international transport had collapsed, rewriting the mathematical rules of global business. But the metal box itself was just a soulless container. For the system to work globally, every crane, ship, and port in the world needed to be able to lift and lock onto the same box. McLean made a strategic move. He gave his container patents away for free. This forced the creation of an international standard, ISO, for container sizes and locking mechanisms, allowing the world to operate on standardized equipment. This makes the container a gateway technology. It perfectly interfaces with ships, trains, and trucks, bridging 3 previously isolated networks and allowing cargo to flow between them without friction. Because the standardized box fits every mode of transport, we can achieve door-to-door delivery. Goods are sealed at the factory and aren't opened again until they reach the final consumer, thousands of miles away. By establishing these strict physical dimensions, McLean accidentally engineered what became a highly automated, global-scale conveyor belt system. This chart tracks the result. In the 20 years following the adoption of the container, trade between industrial nations grew by a staggering 700%, an explosion in commerce that far surpassed the impact of any trade treaty. As transport costs vanished, the modern supply chain was born. It allowed the world's production to shift to new industrial hubs in places like China and South Korea, which could now manufacture goods and ship them to distant markets for almost nothing. Today, the scale is staggering. A port like Rotterdam handles over 1 million containers a year, and the largest modern vessels can carry the equivalent of 145 Ideal X loads on a single ship, all managed by computer-choreographed cranes. The containers successfully decoupled the location of production from the location of consumption. Physical distance has become practically irrelevant to the cost of the things we buy. But routing 80% of global trade across the oceans has produced a massive hidden price tag that isn't reflected on any manifest. To maintain low costs, these megaships burn bunker fuel, a toxic, cost-effective oil. If the global shipping industry were a country, its emissions would make it the 6th largest producer of greenhouse gases on the planet. As ship sizes grow, the risks intensify. Improperly declared hazardous goods cause massive ship fires, while thousands of containers are lost at sea every year, spilling physical pollutants into the ocean that can circulate for decades. The ecological damage is profound. Massive vessels strike and kill endangered whales, while toxic oil spills from maritime disasters contaminate coastlines and accumulate through the food chain, eventually impacting human health. Malcolm McLean's box succeeded in its mission. It integrated the global economy and shifted the world's centers of production. But as we move forward, we have to decide if the convenience of cheap shipping is worth the catastrophic environmental cost of the system that made it possible.